Okay, so this is a bench update. I'm running a little late this week because it's been a very busy week. At work and with some other things I had to deal with. But just to do it quickly, still working on the Nova. I haven't done anything to the body yet because I'm still working on the hood. I'm on my second maybe patch of I'm still trying to cover those two holes that came with the hood for the kit. I'm almost there, I'm trying to make it so you can't see it, because once I paint the car, I want it to be smooth. So, and I typically paint the whole body at the same time. So, in which case I will put the hood on there, paint it all, and the whole body will be a nice even coat of white. So, but there's no sense painting the body or doing anything with it now until I get the hood done. The interior is pretty much done. So, I made the bench seat, as mentioned before. And it's, once you paint the same color, it works. I added a shifter. I don't have a pointer. There's a shifter right there. I added that to the column. I just made that with a simple piece of wire. Drilled a hole and put that in there because since I switched the car over to an automatic transmission, I didn't want a shifter on the floor because I didn't want this car to look like a performance car. If somebody looked inside, so that's for the automatic shifter. So we've got that, just a plain Jane interior, nothing fancy. I will probably put a aftermarket tack on the steering column. I got to look and see what I have. That's a giveaway, but at the same time, this car doesn't have one, so I'm thinking that would be a good idea. So I'll see if I have one in the parts box. This right here is a thing I cut down from I don't know what kit. It was in my parts box. This is like your J.C. Whitney soda holder. So this is a 70s car or 69 or whatever it is. So we got a J.C. Whitney thing there on the floor to hold a couple of cans of soda, and we're good to go. So, but it also, where the shifter originally went, I thought the bench seat would cover some of that up, but it didn't. So this does two things. It fits the car, but it also covers up the little bit of the shifter panel that's molded into the bottom of the floor. It covers that up. So, and that's about it. It's got the firewall in it. A little touch up here and there is needed, but it should be fine. And then the suspension or the chassis is pretty much done. I just put the dry shaft in a few minutes ago. Cut that down and put it in there. No big deal. Since I changed the transmission, the original dry shaft wouldn't work. So I just had to cut it down a little bit, and then I'll touch up all around. I really wanted to put a set of headers in it, but none of the headers I have would work around this chassis at all. So I saw a pair online, but even if I ordered them now, I wouldn't be able to get them till early November, and I just didn't want to wait. Trying to make them is just not something I want to do. It just sucked the fun right out of this project. So I went ahead and put the exhaust manifolds on it, and we're just going to pretend they're headers. So, because that's all I want to do with it. Yeah. But the rest of it came out nice. I did forget, usually when I get to this point on the car, when I paint it black, or whatever color I paint the chassis, I normally mask off and paint the gas tank, and I forgot to do that. I could paint it by hand, but that's kind of so-so, 50-50, it's silver, it looks okay, but you're going to get, no matter what you do, you're going to get some brush strokes, or it's just not going to look right. So I decided, well, I'm just going to leave it black. It doesn't matter anyway, because nobody's going to crawl under the car and look, so even on a sleeper car. But that's where we're working at. It's important that I needed to get the engine in there because I still need to test fit with the body and the interior. Once I get this right here once this is all dry and everything, the interior will be one of the next things that gets glued in. Once that's glued in, I can test it with the body and I can see what my intake options are. I mean, I have this intake. I'm digging through my parts box. The intake that comes with this car is very boring. And the carburetor is just a blob of plastic. So, I have this one here, which is not super great, but, I have to adjust the carburetor. I'm leaning towards this one, which kind of looks pretty cool. So, and then if I do that, I might be able to get this really nice carburetor on there, which I drilled out the whole venturi holes for it. So I might be able to get that on there. And then this model comes with just a simple chrome air cleaner, which I'll put on there. I'm going to paint around the paper element on it, but I'll put that on there. And that'll be good to go, but I want to make sure all that'll fit with the body on there and the hood before I glue it all on top of the motor. And that's really it. It's really getting there. There's not a lot of parts left. I still have to figure out the wheel situation. And again, when I get the body on it and the interior's in there and the body's on, I'll see how much room I have in the wheel wells. And then I can figure out probably the tire combination more than anything, because I already know the hubcaps I want to use. And I already know I want to use just a plain, wheel. So, yeah, as soon as I get that together, that's going to be the two next steps. Figuring out the tire wheel combination and the intake manifold and stuff. And then I'll put the rest of the engine on there. I'll put the radiator on there, radiator core support and so on, and that'll all be done. So, I mean, it's not going to be like a lot of drastic changes on this kit, but it will make the idea that's in my head. And that's what I'm shooting for. So we'll see what happens. The BMW is coming along. Like I've said before, there's a lot of weird parts on this car that are not on a normal car. So you can't just slap it together and by memory. You really got to study the instructions, and it's a pain. So while working on it, I've got the engine in place, which I glued in today, and that was tricky to get in there and get it where it has specific places engraved where it needs to fit. There's no sloppiness to it at all, but it has to go in that specific location, and I had a hard time getting it in there. So once I got it in there, I just glued it in place. And then the steering wheel fell out and the seat fell out while I was manhandling it, trying to get the engine in. So those two things are drying, and we'll continue on with the back part of the car here, adding more and more on it. I'm not even sure where that goes. I mean, I imagine that sits there. But yeah, we'll get some more going on it. And I can see, I'm not going to really say until I get to the end, but I mean, this kit, I don't know, it's not very exciting, except for the motor. If you wanted to put the motor in another car, that would be cool, like a hot rod or something, but I don't know. It looks better on the box. I got caught by the box art, and it looked cool, and it's like, I don't know, it's not looking cool now, so we'll see what happens. I'm just going to keep putting it together, and we'll see what the end result is. But I don't have my hopes up high. With that said, I'm starting on another project. Actually, I already started this truck. Matter of fact, I've got the suspension done because I had another truck kit. I had it's funny that AMT reissued the 1963 Ford pickup and the 1960 pickup, because I actually have those two trucks. I have original releases. They were put together, not so much glue bombs, but You know, I stripped them and everything and took them apart and all that and everything. And I wanted to build the 60, and I needed a chassis for it. So I built this chassis so that I could test it on the 63 and on the 60, and it didn't really fit. I think it fit the 60 better than it did the 63, and you wouldn't think that because the 63 looks a lot like this truck, especially in the front. You know, the cab and everything, it just has, you know, a single body instead of the bed being separate. But the chassis is totally different lengths. So that's what I did. I put the chassis together for that. And since I did that, and my father-in-law actually had a truck like this, and I drove it several times. So I'm going to build this with the blue and white. His blue was a little darker than this one. But I'm going to just put it stock and then paint it blue and white and just build it like the truck that he had. And I have a picture somewhere, and I cannot find the photograph that I had of it. I only had one photograph. I actually took a photograph after he had it painted. But nonetheless, I remember it very well, so I'm going to build that. Since it's already started, it just seemed a good idea to just finish it. I try to do, it's kind of weird because sometimes I try to build models that I've already opened. Because a sealed kit is worth more than a kit that you open. And I don't collect kits, but if for some unforeseen reason I had to sell a kit, I would get more money for it if it was sealed. So I tend to, when I open up a model, and even if I'm just looking at it, or if I'm going to do something like this, like I needed the chassis out of it, or whatever, somewhere down the line I tend to build those before a sealed kit. But not always, but I mean, that's what's in my head. That's the way I'm thinking, if you're curious. Now this will be a fun build. I don't see any problem with this. The Mobius kits, I built some of the other Mobius pickup trucks, the 70s kits, and I think I built 2 or 3 of them. I still have one of them that I built. I sold the other 2. But no, they're good kits. I mean, can't say it enough. I see it online all the time. People are just amazed at how good the kits are, and it's like it's a modern kit. And not only that, they give you a lot of extra parts on most of the kits. So the 4x4 is my favorite. It's a long bed, but it's being a 4x4, I just think it has more you can do with it. But and the one with the box bed is pretty cool too. So, but that's it. You'll probably see some updates on that. Right now I only have the chassis, and that was already put together, so it doesn't really count. So we'll see, but maybe next week something will actually get finished. We'll see how it goes. And I appreciate you looking and watching, and that's the update, and we'll catch you later. So long.